Buongiorno tutti and welcome to your supplemental video for our visit to Napoli. This is a really important lesson because it brings together the things we've been doing for the prior classes and allows you to build to what we're going to do to the next two classes. It's really a bridge and really the heart of what we'll be doing for the whole course. And it's also a lot of fun because we get to talk about food. So let's go, or I should say andiamo. Start with a little review, and as always, just listen and read for practice. Dov'è Napoli? Napoli è al sud. Napoli è in Campania. Dov'è Napoli? Napoli è al sud. Napoli è in Campania. Napoli è una bella città. Napoli è una bella città. Napoli è la patria della pizza. Napoli è la patria della pizza, cioè la pizza è inventata a Napoli. E cosa c'è a Napoli? C'è il museo archeologico. Vicino a Napoli ci sono le rovine di Pompei e il Monte Vesuvio. Ci sono le catacombe di San Gennaro e vicino c'è la costiera amalfitana. Next we had our conversazione libera, and just a little review here. So everyone's feeling a lot more confident with ciao, come ti chiami. You may want to keep practicing these, iron out a few details of pronunciation, particularly if you've had some Spanish and you feel like that's interfering. That's very typical if you've had another Romance language, even if it was just a year or two in high school a long time ago. You think, oh, I forgot all that, but it's in there. You remember it better than you think you did, and it'll come out at inopportune times. But you can iron that out with practice. Excuse me. And overall, as we discussed in class, the learning curve for people with a background in another language, Romance language, particularly Spanish because it is so similar to Italian, it's going to be a little different from people who haven't. So that initial confusion between very fine distinctions in pronunciation, but the same underlying meaning and structure, is going to give way to a deeper understanding of more complex grammar later. It's going to help you out more. So what seems like a hindrance at first turns into a big advantage in a few weeks. So keep at it. So we're still working on come ti chiami, come stai, piacere, just keep at that. And what we wanted to review was cosa ti piace fare. So you remember cosa is what, ti piace, you like, and fare is to do. If you know the French savoir faire, that is the same fare in faire, to do. So savoir is to know how, or to know, and fare is to do, so it's know how. Same verb. So the response to this, what do you like to do, is very simple. You just say mi piace, and then the verb. And what's really nice about that is that you can look up the verb in the dictionary because that's the infinitive form. Mi piace camminare, mi piace leggere, mi piace nuotare. All of those infinitives, and so you can review your earlier notes, the earlier videos, or the earlier PowerPoint notes when we looked at activities, hobbies, things you enjoy doing. The important thing about that is that the verb is not going to change. Ti piace leggere? You like to read? Sì, mi piace leggere. Yes, I like to read. Or no, non mi piace leggere. No, I don't like to read. Leggere stays the same, and you're juggling mi piace, I like, ti piace, you like. Note here that there's a little bit of a subtle difference. We're going to add just a little bit when you're talking about nouns you like. I like coffee, I like books, I like tea. You can add that. For now, make sure you're really strong with mi piace verb, ti piace verb, and being able to negate that as well. And then we reviewed a little bit of cosa c'è a Napoli. Remember, cosa is what? And c'è is a contraction of ci and è. There is. So what is there in Napoli? There is, yes, there's that. So you can review that as well from prior classes. Ma prima, let's take a look at that. We have di dove sei, sono di, a Napoli c'è una torre e ci sono ristoranti, siamo persi. So all of these are phrases that we have at least touched on. Some of these are more bonus. So di dove sei, of where are you from? Sei is you are. Of where are you? Sono di, I am of, and you would give your hometown. Sono di Washington, D.C. So that was bonus. What we did do in our first lesson was sono americano, sono americana, so I am. And then we've been doing c'è and ci sono since day one. So a Napoli c'è una torre e ci sono ristoranti. In Napoli, there is a tower and there are restaurants, is and are. And then for our asking and giving directions activity, we had siamo persi. We just touched on this. It was really just the title of the activity, but siamo, we are, and persi, lost. It's from the root word for perdition. So a lot of fun there. So we have encountered these to some degree, and they're all part of the verb essere, to be. Think essere, essence. So essere is our infinitive. That is the dictionary form of the verb. Just like we've been using with mi piace, we've been using infinitives. An infinitive, taking us back to our middle and high school English classes, an infinitive is a verb in neutral gear. It's not telling you anything other than the definition of the verb. So to walk is the infinitive in English, but it's not telling you who's walking, where they're walking, anything like that. It's just the dictionary form. And the conjugation is the different patterns, the different forms you put them in to express that meaning. So here we have the present conjugation of essere, to be. Io sono, tu sei, lui or lei è, noi siamo, voi siete, and loro sono. So in green we have our subject pronouns. Io is I, tu is you singular, lui is he, lei is she, noi is we, voi is y'all, that is you plural, and loro is they, that is the third person plural. So here you have a whole conjugation. This is a little bit of a bonus. You don't have to add this, but because we already have about 3 of these forms that we've been using in meaningful contexts, you may as well throw in the other 3. So if you want to do that, what I recommend is chant these. It takes me back to my Latin class, so make it real rhythmic, make it musical. Io sono, tu sei, lei è, noi siamo, voi siete, loro sono. You'll also notice that the io and loro form is identical. That will be less confusing as you progress in Italian as you would think it would be. And so don't let that throw you. And happily, that is the only verb in Italian that I'm aware of where you have to contend with identical forms. For every other verb conjugation I've ever seen, and of course I haven't seen all of them, so I can't make promises, but everything I've ever seen, everybody gets their own form. So if you want to add that to your repertoire, I would recommend chanting it, and essere is a great place to start with conjugating verbs. But today we're going to learn how to use a system where you don't have to conjugate a verb in order to use it. And it's going to look like this. Vorrei andare a Napoli. Vorrei andare a Napoli. So let's break this down. Andare, the verb in red, is the infinitive, to go. So, to go, where? A Napoli, to Napoli. So we've seen Napoli, we've been playing around with that. Don't worry about the it's just a little pesky preposition. You'll get those in time. They're not as important as the meat of the sentence, which is always going to be the verb. Verbs are the engines of the sentence. If you've got the verb, you got more than half of what you need to make sense of anything, which is why we're focusing on them here. So you've got andare. What is this vorrei over here? Well, just like you might say, mi piace andare a Napoli, vorrei is giving andare direction, because it's in the infinitive. It's not telling you anything by itself other than the meaning. Vorrei is I would like. Vorrei andare a Napoli. I would like to go to Napoli. So just like you use mi piace and then an infinitive, and you might have something else on the end, here you can use vorrei, I would like, to express what you'd like to do, and it can be anything. Let's look at some more examples. Vorrei mangiare una pizza. I would like to eat a pizza. Which, I mean, look at that. That's an understatement. Vorrei avere un cane. I would like to have a dog. But I have 4 cats and no fenced-in yard, and it's just not a good idea. But vorrei avere un cane. Perché mi piacciono I cani. Because I like dogs. So see, we've got that. We can juggle in there a little bit of mi piace, mi piacciono, right? So it's going to work the same way. Let that sit a moment. We're going to return to it, and I will just go over the pronunciation of all of these because it's also on the vocabulary list. So we'll just breeze through this. We practiced reading this in class, and you all nailed it. So starting with the bread up top, we're going to go clockwise. We've got il pane, I grissini, I bicchieri, il cucchiaio, il coltello, il piatto, la forchetta, and il tovagliolo. Bicchieri are any type of glass, like a wine glass, a highball, lowball, a tumbler, any of those are bicchieri. Think like a beaker. And this is opposed to our first word here. We have la tazza. La tazza is a cup or mug, anything that has a handle or is for hot drinks. So coffee cup, tea cup, that would be a tazza, but a wine glass would be un bicchiere. I'm sure, like us, they have various distinctions between things like wines, a wine goblet, tulip, brandy snifter, champagne, flute, all that, but I don't know those words, so we just have tazza and bicchiere for now. That's enough. We have il cameriere, waiter, and la cameriera, waitress. We have la tavola and il tavolo, so both of those are table, as in the Italian conversation table, la tavola italiana. One of you came up with, mentioned a really interesting idea that the tavola is like the table when it's all laid out, it's ready for dinner, it's like the dinner table. Tavolo is more of a more mechanistic, like it's the name of the furniture rather than the more figurative, like, oh, the table's all laid out, come to the table. And I have heard tavola used more in that sense and more frequently. So that's really interesting to me, and I want to investigate that further. But regardless, a cafe table, a little table, is il tavolino. That ino ending makes it small. Those are masculine, so il tavolino. Next, we practiced a little bit of reading strategy, and I want to touch on what you all did here. We're going to break it down more later. because reading strategies are really important for two reasons. First, you can't learn all the Italian you need in just a 6-week, once-a-week course. I can't teach you everything you need, but if you have a good strategic basis for being able to approach things you don't understand, you can fill in those blanks much more easily, even without having to look up every word or translate, which can be a really slow, unwieldy process. The second reason that reading is so important is that reading itself, when you can do it strategically, is a beautiful vehicle for driving your language acquisition. So for those of you who want to continue with Italian, who want to attain mastery, who want to start being more conversational, reading is a really great way to build that. And we'll touch more on the theory and why that's so later. For now, you were able to do a brilliant job decoding this. And what you were doing was taking a far back view of the context. We're talking about food. You've got a picture of what looks like French toast and a little cup of coffee or tea up there. And so with that context in mind, you read La colazione è il pasto più importante del giorno. So then you dive in and you start taking a closer look and decoding individual words. Maybe you don't know colazione yet, but you have il pasto più importante. Well, importante looks like, smells like, important. And then giorno, day, del giorno, so importante del giorno. We have giorno. We have pasto più importante, la colazione. And you all figured out that it is breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Literally, the breakfast is the meal, like repast, most important of the day. That D and il, it merges. Don't worry about that. So, you picked it apart. You used context clues. You used cognates, words that are related in different languages and have the same meaning that you can recognize. And you put it together to figure out la colazione è il pasto più importante del giorno. So, much like when we work with music, once you figured it out, then you want to practice. You don't want to just say, okay, I've translated it, I figured it out, let's move on. You get the most benefit from reading it for meaning several times. So let's look over it. Now we know what it means. I'm going to read it to you 3 times. So just read and let that comprehension sink in. All right? La colazione è il pasto più importante del giorno. La colazione è il pasto più importante del giorno. La colazione è il pasto più importante del giorno. All right. And you can pause this and read it over and over and over again. Try reading it out loud. And unfortunately, it's a lie. Breakfast is not the most important meal of the day in Italy by far. They tend to have a light breakfast. They don't eat meat with it usually, so it's going to be light. A light pastry and coffee usually. Continental breakfast. All right, but now we have a little bit of that for context. Let's move on. And we figured out, using the same method, ma il pranzo e la cena sono anche importanti. But lunch and dinner are also important. So we've got pranzo, lunch, cena, dinner. Let's read that 3 times. Ma il pranzo e la cena sono anche importanti. Ma il pranzo e la cena sono anche importanti. Ma il pranzo e la cena sono anche importanti. All right, I'm going to go back. We're going to read the whole thing. La colazione è il pasto più importante del giorno. Ma il pranzo e la cena sono anche importanti. There you go. You were able to understand that fluently. So keep that in mind as you work with songs, as you work with reading. We're going to do more with that. You start with context. You take a wide view. You try to figure out from context and your own background knowledge as much as you can about what you're going to read. You go in close. You decode. You translate. You figure it out. And you always take a step back to see if that makes sense. I compare it to painting. You have your paintbrush, you're up close to the canvas, you're putting in little details, and you always take that step back to take the wide view and see what it looks like as a whole. And once you do that, once you've got that, you want to repeat. So just read it over and over and over again. And when we get to working with music more, you'll want to listen to the song and read the lyrics over and over and over again, as much as you can stand, or as much as the people you live with can stand. All right? So it's a good little reading exercise, and we'll be doing more of that. Next, we talk about the culture of food. So we've got this little comic here. It's my understanding that the gentleman ordered both the pasta and the antipasta, so like matter and antimatter. But it's actually ante, like antediluvian or antebellum, before. The antipasto, before the meal, is just an appetizer. So we talked about the different courses of a meal in Italy. So we have, I'm just going to read you this menu. We have La Torre, Via delle Due Torri 46 in Bologna. For an antipasto, we have pâté di fegato, prosciutto e melone, salmone affumicato, affettate misti. For our primi piatti, we have tortellini in brodo, gnocchi al sugo di pomodoro, risotto alla marinara, spaghetti alla bolognese. For secondi piatti, we have bracciola di vitello, pollo arrosto con funghi, pesce spada alla brace, bistecca fiorentina. For our contorni, sides, we have pepperoni alla griglia, zucchini e fagiolini, patate fritte, insalata mista, and then we have our formaggi, our cheese, mozzarella di bufala, gorgonzola, parmigiano, formaggi misti. And now my favorite, the dolci, the desserts. Frutta fresca di stagione, gelato alla crema, torta al cioccolato. And finally our bevande, our beverages. Vino della casa, metro litro o litro, Pinot, Chardonnay, Merlot, Lambrusco, and then acqua minerale, naturale o frizzante, mezzo litro, a litro, and then we have birra, piccola or media. So a little bit of reading practice, pronunciation practice for you there. So over here on the right column, we break it down. The antipasto is the starter or appetizer. The primo is your first course. It can be primo or primo piatto, first, just a first or first plate. That's usually lighter. It might be pasta, risotto, grains, maybe fish. Your secondo or secondo piatto is your second course. It's usually heavier. This is where you're going to find your meat dishes. Contorno is side. Formaggio is cheese. Dolce is the dessert or sweet. And bevanda is beverage. So it's not necessary to order a dish from every course on the menu. If you are at a large banquet, they will set it out in courses. But, who among us goes to large banquets? I don't know. We had a couple in the Florence program. It was cool. But typically, you're not expected to order something from everything. You can mix and match according to your appetite. And as one of you mentioned, if the portions are big, you might want to share a plate. It's very common. I remember we used to share prosciutto e melone. We'd all share an appetizer. So eat what you like, pick and choose. If you're vegetarian, you're probably going to have most of your options with the primi, but you can always say c'è la carne, is there meat? And there's that c'è again. You can also say sono vegetariano, or sono vegetariana, or sono vegano, sono vegana. I'm vegetarian, just like we said, I'm American, I'm whatever. So, see? It's all starting to gel. So let's put it all together. Let's go, let's eat. Andiamo? You want to go? Shall we go? Sì, andiamo. Yes, let's go. Mangiamo. Shall we eat? volentieri, which is like, oh yes, gladly. Ho fame, I'm hungry. It's just a little bit of fun there. Let's return to that vorrei. When you order in a restaurant, you can just say vorrei and then read off the menu. Vorrei il vino bianco. Vorrei un caffè latte. Vorrei gli spaghetti al pomodoro. Right? So you just vorrei, I would like, and then read whatever you'd like. We talked a little bit about restaurant culture. Much like in France, a waiter is going to step back. They're going to be watching the dining room. They're going to leave you alone. They're not going to come check on you. You can just say scusi. You can, raise a hand to get their attention, and they will bring you the bill or the water or anything else, but they're not going to come by and check on you, and this is considered polite, good professionalism. So keep that in mind. And then when you order, it's just vorrei, and there you go. Using that vorrei, just like we used mi piace, ti piace, we are going to start to build our ability to use verbs without having to learn those conjugations like we did for essere. So I call these dinosaur sentences, and I love these. The reason I call them dinosaur sentences is after the kids' flip books where you create new dinosaurs or new animals or new people. You see you've got a little book and it's divided into 3 sections, and you flip through and you mix and match a dinosaur or animal head, middle, and tail to create new dinosaurs. It's just a fun little thing for kids. You may have had one when you were young, or your children or grandkids might have had one. I think I had one. Don't know if it was dinosaurs. But you've got a dinosaur head, a stego, the middle, Sarah, and a tail, Saurus. So Stegosaurus. We're going to do the same thing with our sentences. So if you remember mi piace, which you learned, you used to express your likes and dislikes. So we'll look at that again. Mi piace mangiare. I like to eat. Mangiare, there's our infinitive. And you can say non mi piace, I don't like, lavare I piatti, to wash the dishes. So I call these dinosaur sentences because we have a dinosaur head, mi piace or non mi piace, and we can flip that around. Ti piace, mi piace, non mi piace. We've got a few things we can cycle through. Then the middle is going to be the verb infinitive, and that's the only thing that you have for the middle. Mangiare, lavare, whatever. And then for the tail, we have I piatti. So non mi piace, I don't like, it's our dinosaur head. Lavare, our infinitive is in the middle, to wash. And what's the tail? I piatti, the dishes. So trading out mi piace for things like vorrei and the other verbs I'm going to show you means that you can express anything with an infinitive verb, and you don't need to know how to conjugate the verb. Let's look at some more. Starting with a review of vorrei, a little bit more about vorrei. Vorrei is it's actually the conditional mood. Don't worry about what that is. Just know that it looks a little different from the other two that I'm going to show you because it's doing something a little different. So it is equivalent to I would like versus I want. And just like in English, saying I would like is a little bit more polite. So you can just use vorrei. I'm going to show you voglio, I want, later, and you can just substitute vorrei. So you can use it to attach to an infinitive or a noun. So for example, a dinosaur sentence would look like this. Vorrei, there's our head, andare, there's that verb in the middle, al museo, the tail. I would like to go to the museum. But you can also use vorrei with nouns. Vorrei il vino rosso, per favore. I would like the red wine, please. So, lots of use for vorrei. And then, I'm sorry we didn't have as much time for this, and so this was a little confusing. I'm going to break this down now. It was to get you all used to vorrei versus mi piace, but we didn't have time to cover it in depth. So, we have sì or no, yes or no. Vorresti visitare l'Italia? Sì, vorrei visitare l'Italia, or no, non vorrei visitare l'Italia. So it's the explanation. Vorresti is the to form of this verb. That's the you form. So vorresti, you would like. So would you like to go to Italy? Vorresti visitare l'Italia? Of course, the answer we would all give is sì, vorrei visitare l'Italia. So let's look at the activity real quick. The attività was chiedete un compagno o una compagna. So ask a companion, masculine or feminine. I'll just read these real quick. Vorresti visitare l'Italia? Vorresti comprare le scarpe in Italia? Vorresti visitare il Vaticano? Vorresti mangiare una pizza? Vorresti studiare italiano? So, would you like to do this? Would you like to do that? So, don't worry about all those if you didn't understand all of it. That's just to get you really comfortable with vorrei. So, as a side note, I'm going to show you voglio. Voglio is another form of vorrei, but it's just the present indicative. Voglio, I want. They're from the same verb, volere. You can use it just like vorrei, but it's a bit more abrupt. It's like I want versus I would like. So you can say, voglio partire. I want to leave. Right? So there's your dinosaur head, dinosaur middle. Not all dinosaurs have a tail. You can substitute, you can just slot in vorrei partire. I would like to leave. Voglio una grande pizza. I would like a large pizza. Wouldn't we all? You can substitute vorrei una grande pizza. If you want to stick to just the basics, I would say use vorrei, and voglio is a bonus. I do include it though because it's in the same tense and mood as the other two I am going to show you. But you can upgrade to vorrei to make it a little more polite. Same verb. The next dinosaur head we learned is posso. I can. Just like the others, you're going to attach an infinitive to express that you're able to do something, but you can use tone of voice to ask if you can do something. So, if I said, posso prendere il treno, I can take the train. Posso, head, prendere, middle, il treno, tail. I can take the train. But you go up to somebody, you're trying to get around, posso prendere il treno? Can I take the train? So you don't have to do anything with grammar. It's just question mark in print or in your voice. So, can I take the train? By itself, posso is just the equivalent of may I. So, you offer someone a chair. Posso, may I? Somebody's passing around candy. Ooh, posso, may I? So, very versatile, posso. So think posso like possibility, I can. And finally we have devo, I have to. It's exactly the same way as vorrei or voglio and posso. It's the dinosaur head. Devo prendere il treno. I have to take the train. Or, devo prendere il treno? Do I have to take the train? Maybe there's a bus. Maybe you can hire a car. Something like that. The only catch with devo is that it doesn't work with nouns. You can't say devo a thing. I need something. It has to be a verb. We'll go into, I need my medicine, I need a glass of water, something like that. So that's the only catch. So to sum up, here are our dinosaur heads. We started with mi piace, you're getting comfortable with that. We have vorrei, I would like. And then we have its other form, voglio, which you can add or subtract as you like. Posso and devo. I like, as in I enjoy. Vorrei, I would like, as in, I want. Voglio, I want. Posso, I can. Devo, I have to. The verb that devo comes from, dovere, is actually related to our word debt, something that has to be paid. So, now you just have a limited palette of dinosaur heads, a limited selection to flip through, but juggling these, meaning you only have to memorize a few forms, suddenly opens up the entire world of Italian verbs. So here's some infinitives that go for dinosaur middles. And you have some. You have them for activities. You've had infinitives all over. So we have avere, to have, andare, to go, fare, to do or to make, parlare, to speak, mangiare, to eat, comprare, to buy, vedere, to see, prendere, to take, and partire, to leave, as in to leave a place, not to leave a thing behind. Oh, and my goodness, I'm so sorry. I forgot to add affittare, to rent. But now that you know the system, you can look that up, make sure you've got it. So my apologies there. Affittare, to rent. And so with all that, you can make some sentences. You can make a lot of sentences. Let's take a look. Your dinosaur sentences have devo, posso, vorrei or voglio, and mi piace. That's all you got to flip through. And then the infinitives are infinite. And then the tail could be all kinds of things, you know. If we say, you know, I need to take my medicine, I need to drink some water, I need, you know, the tail can be all kinds of things. But what's really cool about this system is that it is first very functional for travelers. You say, you know, I need to go back to the hotel. Can I enter this church without a hat? I would like to rent a car. You're covering all kinds of bases with anything that you need to do. So these are going to be incredibly versatile, incredibly functional with actual travel. And then the second reason is that it speeds up your ability to communicate in real time without having to punch in every single word in your phone or flip through a dictionary, right? So you've already got the beginning of the sentence, you can have a short list of infinitives, and you know exactly what you need to look up. So even if you might not be able to just rattle off the entire sentence from memory or on your own, what you can do is just use this to augment being able to look things up and be a lot faster and a lot more sure of what you're doing. So this is really, I think, the real engine, the real driver of what we're doing. If you can do this, you get really comfortable with this, all the other things will support this. So do spend time with it. It takes practice, but it's not too difficult. What it really does is streamlines your ability to express things, express sentences that are very useful to you. Lastly, our dinosaur head, before we only had the I form. I want, I need, can I like, I would like. But you might be traveling with other people, so I added the we or noi forms if you want to add those. So I'll go over those now. Dobbiamo. Dobbiamo is we need or we have to. Possiamo. Possiamo, we can or can we. And then vorremmo. So add a little emphasis on that M because it's due M, two M's. Vorremmo. Vorremmo. We would like. And we want is vogliamo. Vogliamo. So you can just say vorremmo, we would like. And then the we like, we enjoy is ci piace as opposed to mi piace. So dobbiamo, possiamo, vorremmo or vogliamo, and ci piace. So just a few more dinosaur heads if you want to juggle those in, if that's going to be useful to you or you just want to know them. Excuse me, that's still a very limited number of forms that you need to memorize. That's for the equivalent of memorizing one infinitive pattern and being able to use one verb. Now you can use all the verbs. So I think that's really cool. Let's look at how that would look if you're changing out the dinosaur head. Remember, that's the only thing that's going to change. So, devo comprare un biglietto. I need to buy a ticket becomes dobbiamo comprare un biglietto. We need to buy a ticket. So you just flip a saurus right through them. We did a little bit of restaurant culture and etiquette. Just remember that you have to pay for your drink at a cafe, or that is a bar, and then take the receipt to the barista. In most places it's going to be the same person, but watch for that. If you're at a big road, like a rest stop, the cashier is going to be all the way at the front, and the bar itself is going to be all the way in the back. So buy your drink at the register and go get it, go present your receipt to the barista. And then remember that latte is milk and cafe latte is what we call a latte. So this is in your notes. I'm going to just skim by this because you can read it. We had sono vegetariano, sono vegetariana, sono vegano, sono vegana, and ho allergia di. I have allergies of, so ho allergia di, whatever. And I can help you with any of these since it's, something you want to make sure you get very precise. And then we have il conto, the bill. Not to be confused with il conte, right? The count. I will tell you a little story about that later. So, as a bonus, if you want another verb conjugation, if you just haven't had enough, we have avere, to have. I'll just run through this. Io ho, tu hai, lui o lei ha, noi abbiamo, voi avete, loro hanno. Notice that the initial H is silent. So, ho, hai, ha, abbiamo, avete, hanno. And double bonus! We have regular verbs in are. So, I'm not going to go over these because they're just bonuses. And I can, if you're interested in that, let me know. And I can get you some videos on that, but it's just learning these patterns. So if you're interested in doing this, you can sort that out. But this is really the Wild Woman workout. We have plenty to do. I'm going to post this. It's about making a flip book if you want to turn your phrase book into a flip book. I have, for those of you who really want to learn these, the definite articles. I'm just going to leave this in the PowerPoint. Again, this is really, if you want to do this, let me know, but I had students in the past who added this, so I just included these charts and these little flow charts. And then a little review of piacersi for everyone. Piacersi is the infinitive for mi piace, ti piace. And this is just a review of using it for nouns. So for singular, mi piace il formaggio, mi piace l'italiano, mi piace la pizza, and change it out. Ti piace il formaggio, ti piace l'italiano, ti piace la pizza. Or for us, we like it. Ci piace il formaggio, ci piace l'italiano, ci piace la pizza. And if you like a plural thing, if the noun you like is plural, it's mi piacciono. For example, mi piacciono I cani, mi piacciono le scarpe. Or, ti piacciono I cani, ti piacciono le scarpe. Or, ci piacciono I cani, ci piacciono le scarpe. So if you want to add a little extra polish to your use of piace, mi piace, you can add this, keep this in mind. But for our dinosaur sentences, you can just, have mi piace and then your verbs, and then that's not going to change. And then this is for fun. I'm going to post it. Pasta or composer? And that is what I have for you today. Y'all, this was a really great class. My apologies for getting this video made a little late, but just focus on those dinosaur sentences and just build out from there with anything you want to add. Get really comfortable with the dinosaur heads, decide which ones you want to have in your repertoire, memorize them really well, and then we'll move from there. But y'all did great. Keep on practicing, and I will see you next time.